Oh, sorry about that. A little bit of a technical error. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Evening, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope you've had a good weekend. I know I have. I went to the Vets Motocross the Nations, which was very good, but we're going to be talking about that later. First and foremost, let's get our guests on, because as you've seen tonight going across the bottom, we're going to be talking Coupe de L'Avenir. I think I said that right. And amongst other things, going to get the team manager on. Let's bring him in. Dave Garland. Dave, welcome. You're looking very suave in your boutique room.
Absolutely, Jeff. Yeah. I'm up in sunny Newcastle, actually, live from Newcastle in the good old northeast. So
it looks good up there. Yeah, you need to, like I said, you need some wall art, but you're moving out. I think, aren't they?
Yeah, moving out tomorrow. I'm up here to give Janice a hand to move. She's moving a few miles down the road. So, but there you go. So yeah, I'm a removal man for tomorrow. So the bikes are taking a back.
It's not all glamorous, is it?
Absolutely.
Everybody thinks we got a glamorous gig. Talking of glamour, let's bring our second guest in, because he's made the effort tonight. He's got his winning team shirts up behind him as goggle guru to the stars. Always like getting this gentleman on, Mr. Sir Robert Bob Buchanan. Let's bring him on. There he is. The reason I call him Sir Robert is because I just think he looks like not really, well, not with the choice language, no, but he has got an uncanny look to Sir Ben Kingsley in a certain film. So that's why I call him that. Gents, how are you? How was your weekend, first and foremost? Bob, I'll start with you because you were down at Landrake, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but was it good down there?
Yeah, it was really good. End of the championship, so everything was decided. Track was really well done. He did 2 tracks. I mean, it was the 2 days. Got all the kids on the Saturday, and then obviously the pros mixed up with the senior youth on the Sunday. Track was good. Then obviously we had the bit of remembrance for Jude that I think surprised a few that took part in it, which is something I'll say a bit about later, I think.
Yeah, we'll get onto that, yeah.
And it was a good event. Well run by Gareth. I think he'll be happy with it. I think the ACU will be happy with it. And I think most of the riders enjoyed it.
Good. We will talk about it in a minute. It's a good way to end the series on a positive note, but we'll get onto that in a minute. So, Dave, obviously I brought you on. For those of you that don't know, you have been the team manager for the Coupe event now for what? For the last 3? Well, actually, didn't you?
5 years.
You took over from me, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did it for 1 year.
You took me under your wing about 5 years ago, Jeff. And we tried to get it back on the map, didn't we? We tried to get, the British youth things back into Europe. Yeah. And we've had some success as well. So, Gilby obviously being our, winning the open class with 3 from 3 must be 3 years ago. This COVID thing's made a real problem. So I can't remember whether it was 19 or 18 or it certainly wasn't 20. But no, unfortunately for me, I didn't make an event the weekend, but I was out buying bikes. So, the game's crazy at the moment. So, that's why I'm a little bit behind with the Coupe in terms of the promotion and so forth. But, it's, the motocross at the moment, I've never known it so busy. I've been around it from a business point of view for 30 years. And this last year or so has been crazy. So, So I never made a meeting.
So, obviously, tough times, isn't it? It's been a difficult year, but we were talking about it before we came on here. How this kind of event, like you said, it kind of went by the wayside a little bit from a British interest because we've won it before, obviously back in the day and whatever. I'm like you with this one, really. I think it's a big deal. I think we should make more of a big thing about it because it is effectively the under-21 sort of motocross of nations.
Absolutely.
There is a lot of prestige in it. It's been going a long time. So how have you found, trying to put the team together? I know it's been difficult. Just explain to us a little bit why it's been so difficult this year.
Yeah. There was the easy part, technology, certainly over the last 10, 15 years, MyLapse makes team selection a little bit easier. you don't always see from My Laps who's going well and who isn't, but My Laps doesn't lie. So you don't have to travel the country to pick the best riders. We've got a few national series, obviously, so that makes it a little bit awkward. Obviously, it's ACU, ACU backed, or it's an FIM backed event. So, yeah, team selection this year was difficult, particularly in the 85 class. The rule book was misinterpreted or misconveyed. So the team selection for the 85s was messy. There were 3 or 4 standout riders this year. The 85 class, I have to say, this year is as strong as I've seen it for a long time. My own opinion of that is that this is always the debate. People will always say how good rider A is, but you're only comparing him to rider B, C, and D. So we don't always know whether this group of 85 riders are going to be future stars, or whether we've got a group of riders all on a similar speed, but they jump up to the next group and go backwards. Some will go, so it's always a debate on who are the next riders coming through. For me, I had three riders selected in Walbini, who won the 65 class 2 or 3 years ago out there. So he knew the track. Yeah. He's been out for a while, but he's come back, and he's certainly the end of the season, he seems to have found a lot of speed. Tyler Hooley, again, was a selection, and Ben Musto. So those 3, I thought, we're going with a real strong team here.
Really strong team. Really
the reason we were going with that team is all 3 of them were 14 at the event, i.e. the Coupe. We then, Phil McCulloch actually was a big help in this. Phil saw me at Landrake and said, Dave, he said, you've misread the rules on this team selection. He said, they have to be 14 at the end of the year. So I went back to Stefan in Belgium just to clarify, and we reread the rule book, and he said, yeah, it's falling in line with EMX now. So they have to be 14 at the end of the year, not at the event. So that threw a huge spanner in the works. And as we are live right now, I am still this evening trying to find the right 3 riders to take. And I think I'm there, but I'm waiting on, parents to confirm, etc. So the 85 was the hardest group. The 65s was pretty easy, bar maybe 1 rider missed out. I had 4 riders in mind. The standout, obviously Robbie Daly or Daly. I'm not sure if it's Daly or Daly. I need to speak to his dad. It sounds like it should be Daly, but Daly doesn't sound right. But you know what? I may be wrong, so I need to clarify.
I've always gone with Daly on commentary. Yeah. And he's never pulled me up on it.
Good. Okay, so tonight we're going to call him Robbie Daly. Yeah, so Robbie Daly, Alfie Geddes Green, another rider with a lot of speed, and a race winner, and Ollie Walters. So obviously Joel Winstanley is the only other one I think who arguably could fit in the team, or could have fit in the team. So, but I'm happy with the 3 that I'm taking in the 65s. Then we move on to the open class, and again, the age criteria is very difficult here. We've taken some good riders in the past, and some, say, as I keep mentioning, Josh Gilbert won 3 from 3 at this event a few years back, and there were some top riders there. Getz, Bosrami, etc. Harrop, a lot of Grand Prix boys now, Isaac Gifting, etc. They've all ridden the Coupe. So for us, it is a stepping stone into the Europeans and into the Grand Prix. And I think it's important for us to be there. But so this year, obviously the toughest ride on the team, and the reason it's the toughest ride is because they are all in together, is the 125 rider. So I was keen to get Bobby, and Bobby at the time was keen to ride. So I thought, okay, Bobby Bruce, we've got a good one to build. Then we had Ike Carter. Now, both of them, unfortunately, withdrew. Ike with an injury and some work commitments, I think. Bobby, his European commitments, and I think that's what's got in the way. He's got bigger things in his head to focus on, which is to win, or to certainly be competitive in the 125 EMX class, which I think he will be. So that was a bit of a curveball. But then I say the age criteria made it very difficult. So I've gone with Tom Grimshaw. I'm happy. Tom puts a lot of effort in. Tom's a very, very capable rider. I'm not convinced yet that he's got the raw speed, but he's certainly a very, very, very talented lad. And, he's got things to come. I think he'll make a good MX1 rider in a few years to come. I think he reminds me a lot of Liam Knight. He's not a crasher. He will always be there. So I was, Tommy's got a good dad around him. He's got a good team around him. So Tom was there. Then it was difficult picking a 125 rider. So we then had to go down into the youth or the MXY one class, and obviously Bailey Johnson has had a great year, won the championship yesterday. So big, congratulations to him. But Bailey wasn't 100%, obviously, with the sad event that's happened. I think it affected everybody. It affected me and you guys, but it affected every group. But I think in particular the MXY2 group. So Bailey, I think he's had a tough year, but he won the championship. So he withdrew. Joe Brooks was looking good. I think, you know what, Joe could be good, but unfortunately Joe couldn't make it. But what I've gone for in 125 is James Barker, and he's dead keen. He's as keen as mustard. And you know what?
Real nice.
I love having people on the team who want to wear the shirt with pride. So, and then the third rider. So we have an MX1. Tom will probably ride 350. We have an MX125 in James Barker, and then in MX2. I've gone with Sam Nunn. And again, Sam has ridden this track before. It owes him a race win. He should have won on the 85 a few years back, and he fell and I can't remember now, but he made a DNF. It was the last race of the week. So I'm happy there. We've got a strong team. So that's the open class. I'd say the 85s, because of the age, it narrowed it down and narrowed it down and narrowed it down. So I can confirm Charlie Richmond 100% is coming. He had an ankle injury at Landrake, but he's 100% going to be there, and he's got a big heart as well. I like Charlie. I think he is one for the future. He's a determined little rider. Absolutely, yeah. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's got some serious.
Yeah.
And he wears
style.
He's one of mine. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. No, he's a great kid, and he's local.
His dad's nice, solid. Behind him
absolutely. Well. Yeah, I'm not biased to local kids. I mean, I travel the country, as you all know. I probably do more miles than most at the moment with the bike game.
You're in Newcastle now.
I'm in Newcastle now. Yeah. Saturday I was in Leeds.
The boy Charlie's a good. Yeah, the boy Charlie's good. Yeah.
So I've got a couple of other riders I'm looking at, and I will announce once we've confirmed in the next 24 hours. I will announce the full team. So
that's good. So listen, okay, going through that selection there, then, and. Team's not fully decided, but a strong lineup.
Yeah.
But it's genuinely sort of almost highlighted what I would say, and me and Bob's spoken about this enough, Bob, haven't we? The current sort of format or rules and regulations in the UK, and I suppose it's AU affiliated to the FIM. I get all that and whatever, but it's almost like we're just kind of dropped the ball a little bit on this 85 area where they go from their 85s to 125s, because this is no disrespect to the red names you just mentioned that are now potentially going to be the 85cc riders, but that original lineup that you mentioned there, obviously Tyler's just won the championship, closely followed by Gusto.
Yeah, one point in it down to the last race.
Yeah, unbelievable.
That was the best racing of the weekend. Those two boys was the best racing of the weekend.
Yeah.
But and yet they're racing in the big wheels in the 85s, and yet you can't select them.
That's right. They can't go. Yeah.
So what's the deal there then? How is that going to be overcome, Bob? I'll ask you on this one.
Go on then. Well, to me, it's absolutely no surprise that we can't pick an 85. You can't have the best 85 riders that are currently in the 85 series, because to my way of thinking, those boys shouldn't be in the 85 series. There's boys in those 85. There's boys on big wheel 85 that should be on 125s. And I've spoken to a lot of dads over the weekend, and a lot of them are going up this year. That 125 next year in the British will be very well populated, because there's even Lanny Jones is going to put his boys straight up from 85 small onto a 125. Phil McCulloch that you just spoke about, he's putting his boy. They're missing out 85 big. They're going on to 125 because parents, and I've been banging this drum, you've been banging this drum, parents in this country for years have misunderstood there's a fixed point in a kids motocross career, and it's the EMX 125 Championship. It's 14 to 17. Now, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds are still on 85s in this country. There's boys in EMX 250 classes at OS this year I've seen. They're younger than kids at home on 85 big wheels, and they're riding 250Fs in Europe and qualifying. We have had, for some reason, I don't know, from the last half a dozen years, it's come to fore. I've been noticing it. Oh, we'll keep him down another year. He might win it next year. Or how many times have you heard that?
Too many to mention.
You need to progress your kids. It depends. What you said earlier, Dave, motocross in this country as a business has never been busier. Motocross in this country is so healthy at the minute. There's loads of people riding bikes. There's loads of people getting into the sport. Grassroots motocross in this country at the minute is really healthy, as long as it's a pastime.
Yeah.
If it's a sport, an amateur sport, or it's what you do at the weekend when you're working. As a professional sport, as kids progressing through a career path, there isn't one.
No, absolutely.
And no support for there to be one, no guidance. Parents have never understood this 14 to 17 at EMX 125. When I had the team and I was always taking an EMX 125 rider, I used to get parents constantly in the winter phoning me up. "You taking a 125 rider this year, Bob?" Yeah. Oh, my boy would be ideal for that. He's always best when he's on a 125. How old is he? 18, 19, 20. He's too old. What do you mean he's too old?
Yeah.
So if Bobby has got in now, Bobby's got this 1 year at EMX 125, where it would have been better, if you've had a progression through, if you've had 3. So what has happened in this country now is that you've got kids that are too old in each group. So obviously the best riders for you to have picked would have been, like you say, Tyler, Musto, and
Walbini.
Walbini.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe
the one
right up next year. I mean, Tyler, if he goes on a 125 next year, he's probably already too old on a 125.
Yeah. I mean, the one rider I didn't talk about, he couldn't make it, but would have been the right age, was Billy Askew. So
absolutely.
That was a shame. He couldn't make it.
So we're kind of out of phase with Europe.
So how do we get that back then, Bob? How do we get that back? Is that just that? Because that's not a rule change, is it?
It's through the likes of old duffers like me at the track and you on here that know what the crack is, trying to educate the parents and having receptive parents like Phil McCullough, Lanny Jones, people like that want what's best for the kid in terms of a career, and understand that if they're going to go into Europe, they've got to get him into Europe on a 125 at 14.
Yeah.
All right, you can win a EMX 65 or an EMX 85 title, but that if you stayed on 85 to win an EMX 85 title till you're 16, you've got 1 year left at a 125.
So it's not a rule change thing. It's not a rule change thing. It's more of a case of educating riders and parents and arguably even some sponsors and whatever to say, look, like rather than going for short-term goals in a youth series, if this rider's got true potential, go for the long-term goal. Obviously, of course, and all the right elements, good parenting, make sure they do their education, don't neglect that, all schooling, all that kind of thing. And maybe that's just the mentality side of thing where we have fallen behind the rest of Europe.
What we're talking about here is only the parents that want their kids to be professional motocross riders or compete at European and world level. If you just want your kid to ride in the British Championship at the weekend, then it's not that important. The only time it becomes important is if you want to progress through Europe and into GPs, because we're arriving. The other age limit, obviously, which we all know, we all argue about, is the 23 on EMX 250 and MX2.
Yeah.
So if you're late into EMX 250, you can have 2 or 3 years at EMX 250, and by the time you've done that, you're already too old to go into MX2, and you've got to go straight into MX1. And if you went straight in from EMX 250 into into MXGP, the only thing I'd want to do is be hold one of those 5 or 10 second boards, I think.
So, I mean, it's true though. No, but you're right. I mean, the bottom line is, with all those rules put in place, and it has changed, you know, and again, not harping on, we're going back many, 10, 15 years or more. And I can only relate to that because obviously as a rider working my way up to want to be a rider on the world level, it was easier for me in that sense. I still had to get on a grading list, admittedly, so that to be good enough to be even go to GPs, but at least you could go there and learn your trade by trying to qualify and all that. And, but now these cut-off points, particularly the 23 rule, has just squeezed everything up so tight now, isn't it? If you're going to make the grade, you've got to be, like, as in going on to either MX2 or MX1, you've got to have at least 4 years of experience in EMX before, as you just, like you said, you're going to have 1 or 2 years and then boom, you're out of it. We've got enough experience for MX2 or MX1.
The thing I've been thinking about this a lot as well. When you were about and Thorpe was doing it, and Mailer and all of those boys, and you had the fastest 40, you went there, you qualified. Brian, you went there. If you qualified, you're in the race the next day. If you're not, you're in the non-qualifiers race. And everybody now goes, oh, you ought to go back to the 40 qualifiers. We haven't now got 40 riders. You can't do that. But back then, I think the difference between British Championship riders, your run-of-the-mill ordinary British Championship rider, and your world champion, your GP rider, I think the difference was much smaller than it is now. I think the sport at the top level has become so professional. There's so many other elements going into it than just being able to ride a motocross bike. There's all the fitness, all the dietitians, plus all the logistics and everything else that goes into this. The money is much greater. The difference between doing a British Championship season and a European season is vast.
Tenfold? Do you think tenfold? What are we talking, Bob, then? Europeans, do you think?
Well, I think my last European season cost me 80 grand with 3 riders.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I'm still paying it off. But the difference now, like I say, is much greater. So the steps much bigger, the commitment's much bigger.
Yeah.
And there's not much help around to make your average working father able to make that step. There needs to be some infrastructure. In other countries, there's over the last 5 years, when was Lewis and Marco Maddi riding in the 300? 2014, something like this. When Marco stopped doing that, which was probably 15, he won it. Him and his dad set up this team in Italy with help of the Italian Federation, and at the time Husqvarna. They're now Fantic. And they put this youth structure in, and they take them to the European Championships. And now look at that team. Look at what they're doing. The 125, they've got Fredrickson. They've brought Guadagnini through 125 EMX into MX2. They've got Chouani and the kid that's beating hands down in the 250. They've put a structure together. Yamaha and the French Federation have always done it. KTM and the Dutch Federation and Diga Racing, that youth program, they support them through the Europeans. They've got, the bikes all go in one truck. They've got support structure to help them make that step. We haven't got that. Do you reckon it'd be easier to get that support?
Do you reckon it'd be easier to get that support structure if more parents and riders got on board with the long-term goal as well? It'd help, wouldn't it?
It's chicken and egg, isn't it? I mean, are you going to get on? Are you going to get on board something that doesn't exist in the hope that it exists? And are you going to set up something without the commitment of people to get on it? It's what starts first. Do you have the program, then hope people come to get on it, or do you have the people that want to get on it and then develop the program around them?
But I think what you've said, and then looking around Europe and other countries, not just how other countries do, but other individuals and teams and riders around the country. It does seem that the more of the percentage definitely do like move up quicker.
We haven't had anybody in an EMX 250 race this year.
Yeah.
Nobody even gone to try and qualify. Well, Josh Peters tried to qualify in
Latvia.
Yeah.
And
what was he? 20 seconds off a lap.
Yeah. But I think this year's exception. I mean, we have to say that this year is an exceptional year. I think there are other circumstances that have stopped people from looking at going down that route.
People coming to Matley from Europe.
No.
Race EMX 250 because they wanted to.
Of course.
Or they were able to because they've got the support structure to do it.
Yeah.
If people can come from all around the world to race EMX at Matley, well, obviously they can't come from all around the world to race EMX. They have to come from all around Europe. Yeah. Anyway. But if they can come to Matley to race, we can go there to race.
Yeah.
That's not been a Brexit or a COVID thing that stopped that happening.
Well, maybe we might have started influencing a few people here. Angela Naylor has said this. Robbie Daly, listen to Bob. There you go. Bob knows. Because
me and Robbie and his dad had this discussion at the weekend.
There you go. So that's that one. And then talking about support structure, well, I'm gonna push this up anyway because Steve said it. Steve Douglas has come out and said that. I don't think it's just the ACU. I don't think you can just blame the ACU. Its parents have to be switched on to it as well.
No. The ACU need to organise it. It needs to go through the ACU because they are FIM's representative in this country. They're our governing body. So whatever happens, I mean, Dave will tell you, he's got the same thing. Everything has to go through the ACU for the Coupe. But like I said, in these other countries, they've got they've brought in manufacturers. So, the French have always been linked with Yamaha.
Yeah.
The Maddies, they had Husky, and now they've got Fantic. Diga, and the KNMV have had KTM. You need other sponsors and other support, and you need industry backing, but that still needs to be organised, and you need to start it off. It needs you're not going to get a brand ring up the ACU and say we think it's a good idea if we help the British youth. The ACU have got to go to these people and say we want to set up a structure to help the British youth. Can you help? They're going to get an awful lot of no's, but they'll never get a yes if they don't ask.
Going slightly off on a tangent here, not too far. I was walking around the vets at the weekend at Farley Castle. Got myself a coffee and went off for a quiet moment, just in the corner to sit back and watch it all. And then I was sort of thinking about seeing the size of the vets. I know it's a one-off event and whatever, but then I started thinking again about the GPs, because obviously it's just been announced the last 2 rounds are now going to be in Italy. Last 5 rounds, whatever it is going to be in Italy. And then the amount of GPs they're running. And I thought, is this a really good time now with GPs having so many events that we can kind of restructure the British Championship scene? I know Gareth has mentioned about genuinely having to look like he's going to have to just put British Championship events on when a GP's on, which
French
I think
always have.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I was just thinking, maybe now with the GPs that they are and all that, and talking about all this, it really is maybe a good time to look at the structure of the British Championship as well. What I mean by that is basically just go, do you know what? We can't keep catering for everybody that wants to go and do the EMX or GPs. You either make that decision and you go and do it, or you stay at home and race the British Championship, because it's just getting harder and harder to fit all the dates in as well. And it makes it confusing for people.
well, I'm not sure exactly how they do it, but the French have always done it on an average of your points. If you're a French elite, which is the British Championship level in France, is the elite. If they've got a clash and you go to the GP, then you get an average of your points or something like that towards the championship, or you get the points that you scored at the GP added to your friend. I don't know how they do it, but somewhere they do
But they do it, Bob. That's the point, though. But that's the point. They do it
like that.
Exactly. They've worked a system where it's not it's helping the cause across the board. It's helping that rider develop without having to make this difficult choice of saying, do this and do that. And with so many more GPs, let's be honest, I can't see in front like going, oh, we're going to cut down the number of GPs again.
No, they need to run 18 to get their monster money.
There you go.
The monster contract is 18. If they don't run 18, they don't get their money.
Yeah. So it's, and that was, I was just thinking that at the weekend, and then, just thinking, well, there's got to be a way that this can actually, if we take the bull by the horns, can get, British motocross. Not that it's in a real bad place, but because it's not, like you said, those people are buying equipment. That's what I mean. But just
the biggest problem has and still is, though, too many series are trying to attract the same riders. That is still the problem, and until we can overcome that, I still think we're going to have the same conversation in a year's time. That's like we talked about the Bridgestone.
So this comes down to what you said there, Dave, and I'll let you carry on your point in a minute. But it comes down to, again, people are doing those series, okay? So they're the hanging fruit for people to go, oh, I'll go off and do that because I've got more chance of winning a championship. They're not going to go away. This is where good riders have to go, do you know what? I'm going to go to the best series.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to go to that one because I know I might win it and go for the glory.
Yeah.
Go to the toughest one. If you're serious, if you're really serious about making the grade, you go and race with the best riders. Like when I was coming out of youth motocross, I lived just not too far down the road from you, between Southampton and Bournemouth. I could have rode in the south centre, southern centre, or the southwest. I decided to ride the southwest, not because the south was worse with preparation or tracks or anything, because the scene was stronger in the southwest.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I'm biased myself, but in terms of where I see the better championships. But even with myself as a parent, Liam was 15 doing the Maxis. Was it the right call? He got injured. He's knackered now. But at 15 years old, he had the 9th in the British Champion. And I think, maybe that was the right thing to do. In my head, we had the right idea. It didn't work out. These things don't always work to plan. But I think it's the right thing to do, without a shadow of doubt.
Well, Kate de Wolf just won a MX2 GP at 16.
Yeah. Well, look at Roxon and Hurlings back in the day. 15, 16-year-olds winning Grand Prix, So.
Yeah. All right, they're exceptions. But it just shows that it's not 18 and 19. Or you need to be up there by then. You can't hold back.
No.
You need to, as soon as if you're able to progress, if you're good enough and able to progress, do it. You must, But again, if you want to be serious about having a motocross career, you've got to remember there's plenty of people that just want to be domestic riders, are happy to be domestic riders. They don't want the pressure of all of that, and their parents don't want it for them either. So you have to make two judgments. You've got this thing, like I say, where we've all said, the industry is really healthy. There's lots of people riding dirt bikes. You're selling loads, Dave. You can't get enough.
No, absolutely.
So there's not a shortage of riders. There's a shortage of good riders, or there's a shortage of riders that are fast enough to make the step that we as people that are fans of professional sport
absolutely
racing are desperate to have them.
Yeah.
Because when Conrad leaves MX2 at the end of next year, who's our next MX2 GP rider?
Yeah, I mean, the
that's a fair point. Yeah,
we all say about and the other thing, that's even putting a bit of a fun element into that. Let's be honest, we all love the 125 class anyway. So the more young riders we can have in the 125 class.
Oh yeah. I mean, hopefully everybody that said they're going to ride a 125 next year is, and that'll be a real strong class. I mean, that's my class. I love it. That's
we all do. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I put most of my effort into that class. In that British Championship, top 7 riders, I do their goggles.
Yeah.
That's my class. That's where you've got to put the effort, but they've got to get in there earlier.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I think, hopefully, this will be a start. Not that anybody would listen. I wouldn't like to put us down as the 3 wise men. But,
yeah. We've also got a problem, Bob. You know that, because there are very few new 125 bikes available this year.
Yeah.
We've got a real shortage of new stock. So, I think there's a few engine builders out there. Did Bert do yours back in the day, Jeff? Was he one of you?
No, actually, no, because I even back then, I was around the time I wasn't so prolific on the 125 because it was around the time my old man died, so I took a year out and then was just coming good towards the end, and then moved straight into adults on a 250 again.
Yeah,
didn't waste any time on
Jeff?
it. What, when my old man died?
How old were you? How old were you on a 125?
When
you got on a 125?
I was just turned 14 or 13, I think. And then we started to ride it, and then and I was really small, Bob. I mean, really small. We started on a KTM
young Billy Askew is like that. I mean, he's awesome rider, lovely little rider. But
what about Chrissy Hamill?
Yeah, all these exactly.
Where's Taylor get all that hype from?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I know, it's incredible, isn't it? What a difference.
They were there the weekend, and they were stood next to each other.
Oh yeah.
It's unreal. Chrissy could stand on his own shoulders and still not be as tall as Dave.
Chrissy could stand on Daddy's Dave's shoulders and still not be taller than Dave. So you got 2 generations against one there. But yeah.
Talking of younger riders coming up, I noticed just recently, just because I know them and I've worked with them before, obviously. Young Harrison Greenoff, they decided to make the jump. Obviously he's kind of got to it, but he's a shining example. I'm not sure if he could by his age. But even if he could, he's so small. But anyway, already jumping on to the 125.
Yeah. I was speaking to him the weekend, and what a great idea that was to do that the last round, because he can then feel the size of the bike, and he now knows over the winter the physical work he's got to do to get the strength. He now knows what that bike feels like. And what work he's got to put in to come out next year swinging on a 125.
Let me tell you, I'll give you a name, Bob. We talk about, let me tell you one to watch, because I like this kid, and he comes and he fishes one week and he rides bikes. And Ashton Bowen, I'm telling you now, that kid already looks like he's got some speed on a 125.
Because he was, didn't he go to some EMXs?
Yeah.
What's he been doing this year?
Fishing, I think.
Has he?
Yeah, seriously. He's been pretty chilled, and I'm not sure on Ashton. Ashton is still young enough to ride an 85. I know that because I had a conversation with Brad about doing the Coupe, and I think he's a kid that could surprise. He rode a 65 at the Coupe a couple of years back. He didn't win, but he's class. He's
good kid. I see him when I last see him, Master Kids at Mildenhall.
Yeah.
And at that weekend, I'm sure he'd been in a European race or something like that.
Right, maybe.
Yeah.
But I know that, I mean, Charlie Heyman is always, I'm a big fan. I'm a very, very, very big fan of Charlie's. It's a shame because I think, Charlie's one that's definitely, he's in Europe, he could mix it, but I'm not really sure what his long-term plans are. I know that Mark's a busy guy and, he's got an education as well, but Charlie's, I'm looking at some results at the weekend. I don't, again, my laps and will give you an idea of who's on the pace. But Ashton certainly looked like he wasn't a million miles off. So it's going to be just a name I think we could be surprised with if he goes down the right route.
Charlie Heyman, awful, real quick rider, awfully quick rider.
Yeah.
But again, it's like goals and what they want to do, and
absolutely.
And the clock, and again, the clock's ticking.
Yep. Yeah,
what's he now? 16?
Yeah, he's certainly 15 or 16. I'm not sure on his age. He's not one that's
probably got 1 year an EMX 125 or 2 at the most if he goes next year. Yeah, I mean, I do his goggles as well.
Sure.
And he's a real nice kid. His dad's down to earth.
Yeah.
Real nice. But again, it's goals and what they want, and some riders develop later than others, and that's the problem you've got with these age rules. There was
Sure.
a time where you could like take your time and mature your kid, and
of course,
you take your time and mature your kid now, and you've missed the boat.
Missed the boat, absolutely.
And and that is it. And you've got to move with the times. That's why I was trying to relate.
I don't agree with any of those age rules.
No, absolutely not.
The 23 MX2 is ridiculous.
Yeah,
because it now stops it being a 250 World Championship. It's a 250 Youth Championship.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it, Bob? You've got to move with the time. That's what the point I was trying to make earlier on. When I did it, it was different, and you did what you did to get there. Now, because it's all changed, you have to change your approach. You can't just, like I said, I had the luxury of going into adults, going through a grading system, top 35, then getting onto a grading list, and you had to earn the right to be there that way. Now, obviously, you can pay your money and go, but because of the time frames put in with the ages, the age categories, you've got to move quick if you're going to make it, because you're not going to gain the experience. And that's the point we're trying to say, isn't it? It's like, if you're not singing and dancing on a 1-2-5, before you know it, you're 23 and your career is not where you want to be. And then you just really, from there on in, to try and get an NX2 ride,
you've got to be max knowledge, Jeff.
I wouldn't say impossible, but you've got to be at the sharp end to pick up those rides. And then your career's not effectively over, but if you're going to make the grade at that level and you're not cutting it by then, it's over.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
But please don't. Yeah, I would. Yeah, but please, everybody out there with their kids, don't think that what I'm saying is you've all got to ride a 1-2-5 at 14, because if it's only those people that are aiming, it's your average British rider that is doing it for a pastime, for a sport, and there's thankfully millions of them, because not literally millions of them, but loads of them, because that's what puts the money in the industry, that they can earn money to, that allows us to sponsor riders. If what I did didn't generate sales for Oakley, then Oakley wouldn't give me the money to put into the riders. So you need the bulk of riders, your pastime riders, if you like, your weekend warriors, as people like to call them. I don't like that expression much.
No, but the point is that, trying to sum it up before we move on to talking about the weekend and actually the racing at Landrake, that's the point. You've got to make a collective decision as a family, and everybody around you, what you want out of this sport. If you seriously believe you've got the minerals and you've got the right backing as a family unit, and I can't say that with enough sincerity, you've got to have all your family behind you to do it, to go, right. Just like I did, I made a conscious decision. It took me about 6 months to get my head around the fact that I'd lost my old man, all that. And then I just sat down for months and months and months, worked out what I wanted to do in life, and made a conscious decision, and then spoke to the family about it. And we made a decision when I was literally 15 years of age that, right, let's get everything we can out of this sport and see how far we can get. And that's what we did. And as a family, like, my brother worked extra hours as a bricklayer. My brother was plastering, then coming back and doing the bike, and we did it. And that's the point. You got to make that decision soon if you're really going to be committed to that or not. And if you're not, like you said, Bob, then stay in the 1-2-5s for as long as you want, gain as much experience. Do that. But if you are serious, really serious about being an MXGP rider, you've got to get moving up early. Yeah. That's basically what we're saying.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's our opinion anyway. You don't have to agree with it.
And again, like you say, that's only our opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
But it hasn't changed. The interesting thing is it's our opinion, but we've got 50, we've probably got 150 years between us. Well,
hold on. Yeah, let's say that. That's
but probably for the last 15.
I'm contributing more than my fair share, if that's the case.
No, but we've been around it long enough to have seen the riders who have made it and who haven't and should have done. So you're spot on, Bob. Absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Let's on that note, let's move on, and that people can debate that. Let's talk about Landrake then, and that's another reason I would like to get you two guys on. I don't know if you was there at the weekend, Dave, but I know certainly you were, Bob. So it sounds, by all accounts, that it was a great way to sign off the series. We'll talk about the racing in a minute, of course. Just want to highlight on how tough it's been, and our thoughts go out obviously to the Morris family.
His dad, I just have absolutely no idea where he's getting all this strength from.
No.
I mean, he was there watching it all, and holding it together.
Yeah,
just unbelievable.
There
were people that were more of a mess than he was. And it's his kid that's died.
Yeah,
unbelievable strength.
I mean, he was on. Jeff, you probably saw it. He was on local telly. I mean,
I did see that, Dave. Yeah,
you get Bob. But he was on local telly down here, and the dignity and the way he handled himself was because that he is me. I can relate to everything he talked about because Liam and I were a team, and he was and him and Jude was just the nicest kid you could ever wish to meet. I when it came through to me. Well, I can't remember where I was, but it was just numb, A friend of mine.
On one hand, the people that used to say please and thank you,
and he's one of them.
Their stuff,
yeah,
and he was top of them.
Absolutely, yeah. He brought. He wasn't a typical motocrosser in many ways, but
to work hard.
Couldn't wish to meet a nicer kid. And in Mark, when I saw Jude, I remember, and Mark put it. He was a fat little kid from Dorset riding at Ringwood on a 65. I remember him like it was yesterday,
Yeah.
But he wanted it, and he's proof of the family unit. What a fantastic tribute to him at the weekend. But yeah, in Mark Morris, the man is just an unbelievable tower of strength, and I hope he stays involved in the sport in one way, shape, or form.
I think he's going to.
We need people like him.
Some foundation.
That
we're all going to get involved with.
Fantastic.
The thing that I took out of that parade, and Ash Wilde did an amazing job.
Yeah.
As a Jude Morris, and I know he was in bits.
Mm-hmm.
And he rode them round, and they came back round into the pits, and they sat there, and they all revved the engines, and then it went quiet, and nobody knew what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
And it was dead quiet and dead. And people were like, what are we going to do? Should we start clapping? What should we say? And I hope that people were just thinking about the whole thing where the whole motocross community was there together. And if it's taken the death of this kid to make people think that, everybody ought to be nicer to each other and everybody ought to work together a bit more. And if the next time somebody is parents are having a row about whether their kid cut a course there or tried to take their kid out there, if they can just think back to that deathly hush that was across that paddock, they might stop arguing and think, hang on, this is all us racing together. And then we all started clapping and that moment went. But there was it seemed like 5 minutes, but it's probably like 20 seconds of really awkward silence where nobody knew what to do.
I've got to say,
I thought that was the amazing part of that.
Yeah. I've got to say, I wasn't there, but oh no, I've forgotten the guy's name now. Mike, he was, I think, a sponsor of Jude, potentially. Did his final lap.
Salisbury Wheel Builder.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Wheels, yeah. He wants to stay. He said that anyway, whatever.
Yeah. Well, he was at Farley and did on the parade lap a lap for Jude, and it was the final time that he ride the bike as well. And I've got to say, the response from everybody at Farley as well to that was quite overwhelming. They had a little board up as well in the pits with a picture of Jude on that everybody could sign, and it was that was so. Even though obviously that was going on down there, and the vets, of course, is a very different demographic. It was treated. Jude was well remembered there as well. So
good.
Yeah, it's and like I said, Bob, I'm totally with you on that because we all got our memories of Jude. I was only interviewing him the week before when he won a race at the MX Nationals, and as I put on my Facebook post, I was out at my mate's stag do celebrating that, having a good time, and it had a profound effect on me when I heard the news.
Yeah.
Because exactly that, you just want the good to come out of it. And if everybody could just, like you said, just act and behave with the professionalism and manners and politeness of Jude, and also the strength that Mark's showing, then that's the best way. That's the best way that we can all pay our respects. Like you said, Bob, is just to be a little bit nicer to each other at the races and just treat everybody with respect.
Yeah.
I said it on the post at the time. I was there, obviously, doing the goggles, and he came to pick up his goggles before the first race, and I was on the phone to Charlie Heyman's dad. I was talking to Mark Heyman, and he rode down on his bike, and he killed the engine, and he sat there, and he waited until I'd finished my phone call. And when I put the phone up, he then asked me for his goggles. Now, how many other kids they just sat there and read, Bob, goggles. Yeah. I gotta go. No, he just pulled up, stopped there, killed the engine, sat there and waited till I finished my phone call, then asked me for the goggles. And that's you. And that was the last time I saw him. He went down to the race and didn't come back.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if Mark is watching this or he gets to watch it later, I really hope, like you said, Bob, I hope he does.
Anyway, that was a good racing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the racing, it sounded like it. I mean, the track looked like it was great, and it looked like a good way to sign off the season.
It was wet Saturday morning. They really watered it Sunday morning because the pros were out first. Andrea Terry, dead right. Keep donating. Keep donating. Go on.
No, I was going to say, I was speaking to one of the guys earlier, and James Barker did a fantastic job with the raffle down there.
Oh, unbelievable.
Just to get,
unbelievable. Jimmy B, well done, James.
Absolutely. What a lovely lad. And do you know what? I think it's up near around the £50,000-60,000 mark. And I said to him, wouldn't it be great to get to £101,000? And it
doesn't that'd be awesome. But I mean, the number doesn't matter. It's the fact that people have come together and put this effort in.
Yeah.
Like you say, the Barkers have stepped right up, and that's what you were saying about earlier when you're picking him and you're talking to people you need in the team. And Jeff's talking about a family unit behind people. That is one family unit that deserves some.
Yeah. Sorry, Bob. Get back on the track. I derailed you there. You were talking about.
Yeah, you're right. Where do you want to start, Jeff? Top or bottom? You want to start with the kids?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'll ask, obviously, Tommy, fair play. I kind of did think that he would up his game a little bit.
Tommy came out with his A game. Came out with his A game. He was aggressive on the bike. Willie stuck the pound signs on the front mud guard, and
yes, it did.
Tommy was on it.
Yeah.
I spoke to Lee earlier.
I'm a massive Harry Koulas fan.
Yeah. And
my goggles broke in the second race on Harry.
Yeah.
But they didn't break because Stone cut the film.
Yeah.
But I think I've had two go all year. One was on Adam Sterry at Ling, and one was on Harry Koulas in the last race of the British Championship when he's trying to chase Tommy Searle down in the rain. I was like,
I think that highlights how serious Bob is about his goggles. I think if we all say it, there you go, going for championship.
But anyway, I don't, even with 21 Lammies on and everybody else and roll off, Harry wasn't going to beat Tommy around there.
No,
Tommy. I spoke to Lee earlier before I came on air. I spoke to Lee Webber, and just to say, I help him out a little bit. I've got a little sticker on his bike now. I feel quite good about the year they've had. I just want to talk about Harry. I just want to talk about Harry for 1 minute, though, before I move on, because I have been around this and seen a lot of riders who get a lot of help, and some are grateful and some aren't. But one thing I will tell you about Harry Koulas, and he went up in my estimations massively. This was at Landrake, but it was for the MX Nationals. I came back after he'd won the title, and his bike was lent against the truck, the cab screens truck. He had a pair of gloves that he dipped in water, and he wiped every sponsor's logo off before the photographs were taken. Now, I've never seen that before. I've never witnessed it. It may happen, but you know what? He's a champion in my eyes. But you're right. I think Tommy was the favourite.
So professional, Harry Koulas. Awesome. Yeah. You point a camera at Harry Koulas, he scrabbles for his goggles and gets them round his neck.
There you go. Yeah.
This is a very educational Dirty Talk show tonight for youngsters and parents. Like, we're giving you a lot of top tips how to get to the top.
Anyway, in the other race, this guy here.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, obviously started as favourite going into it.
He'd already won it.
That's what I mean. So
points in front. Rode round, good style, good speed, and you get off everybody. Oh, Conrad's on another level. Conrad's awesome. Conrad's this. Here's my take on this. Conrad is the level. Everybody else is below it. Way below it in some cases. I don't think that you ought to look
by level. What do you mean by level?
I've had several people over the season and over a couple of seasons say to me, second in MX2 is a win. What? How'd you get quicker with that attitude? I'd say Conrad Muse is the level. Everybody else, find 5 seconds a lap if you want to compete.
Yeah, it's a fact, Bob. I don't think anyone can actually. You're right. No one can really argue with that, other than he's at a level where he's able to be. You know, GP boys are chasing or being chased at a different level, and I think you're right. These guys have now got to tag on to the back of Conrad rather than.
Hold on. Does this not highlight everything we've said in the first?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. That is the end product of everything we've just been talking about. Because you haven't been on the 125 early enough. You haven't been to EMX 125. So you haven't been on an EMX 250 bike early enough. So you're not there. You look at the results of that championship. You've got John Adamson second, too old, over 23.
Yep.
You've got Ando is fourth in the championship.
Yeah.
He was second.
Second in race two.
Second. Ando was second in a race yesterday. Now I love Brad Anderson. I put loads of money into Brad Anderson.
Yeah.
But there's no way on this green earth that Ando should be coming second in a British MX.
Yeah. You're right.
Has he got quicker, or has he maintained speed? He's not got, he must be slower than he was. Yeah.
Yeah. And
so
another
the levels drop.
Of course, another example, all right. And some of the kids coming through, maybe on the 65s, on the 85s now, probably weren't even born, or were certainly very early into their riding. Jay Haig grew up racing Conrad Muse in the schoolboys in the 65s and 85s, and bar a few injuries, wasn't a million miles off of Conrad's pace. Maybe injuries or decisions, but Conrad went a different route, and again, the proof's in the pudding. You know, I think Jay had a second or a third yesterday. You know, Jay's won British Championship. He won a race at Duns a few years back, so the kid can ride. You know, but it's still a gap.
There's a massive gap.
Yeah.
It's not a gap. Conrad came over the line in that first race. All the Attache boys were in the centre of the course. He rode up there. Threw the bike on the floor. They did the 5 bottles of champagne, the photographs. Everybody took all the photographs and everything. Conrad turned around, picked his bike up, got back on his bike. J.A. came over the line and congratulated him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big gap. That's a big gap to fill.
Mind the gap.
Mind the gap, indeed.
The gap.
I knew you'd get some kind of football terminology in here.
Is that football, Dave?
Yeah,
Is he a football? Oh, that way.
Oh, yeah.
Bob, I'm a Pompey fan. It's not really football, but you know what? You asked me, where was I yesterday? I'll be honest with you. I was actually at a charity golf day. So I bought a corporate event ticket for a Southampton match, of all things. Being a Pompey fan, it's not good. But I'm going to go and watch Chelsea or Liverpool, Dickham, hopefully. So that'll be worth every penny.
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Thorpe will.
Yeah.
He could have been a professional footballer. I think in fact he was. He signed for QPR, I think, back in the day.
Trials. So, trials with QPR, and then made the decision to go down.
That girl tennis player that's just won.
Did a bit of riding. Yeah.
Used to ride motocross.
Absolutely.
Well, there's an example to all you motocross parents. Buy your kids a tennis racket.
There you go. Don't forget the link we've also got with Jordan Pickford as well. So he puts a bit of money into the sport. So yeah.
Well, he gave a shirt to Jimmy B's racket.
Absolutely. There you go.
There's a link. Then kids. Back to the kids. James's sister Lucy.
She won the British Championship, didn't he?
But she always, because she's one of the few girls that's in it. But the thing about her was she was 10th overall in the main race.
There you go.
Good on her.
You ask Lucy, what's the best bit? Is it winning the British Championship or is it beating the lads?
Yeah.
She'd sooner beat the lads.
Yeah. Well, I've not seen this girl, Robert. Olivia Reynolds, I think, is another girl that looks like she's got some pretty good speed. So,
absolutely, Dave.
We talk about diversity in the world. Motocross, it's a bit late coming, but it's coming. And, she's obviously got some speed. There are some good girls coming through, so.
Yeah, there's definitely that.
Races of the weekend were the 85 boys.
Yeah.
Never mind what group they ought to be in. Never mind how fast they are on a world stage. Never mind any of that. The 85 big wheel racing was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they threw everything at each other, passing each other back.
Didn't somebody? Where did I read this?
And Musto was leading going around the last few.
Yeah, and then it all got to like a little.
Threw it over the line. He just launched it over the line, and it was like 0.07 of a second or something going across the line. As Ben said, he thought he'd won it, but his transponder said different. But yeah, it was a fantastic race. And kind of nice that Ben won the overall and Tyler won the championship. I know Ben would sooner won the championship, but that was fantastic racing. Yeah. Now, whatever they go and do next year, if they bring that level of commitment to whatever they're doing, then that's going to be good.
So just I did hear that it was all then it all got into that classic trying to not just slow each other up. The whole cat and mouse thing started to happen, didn't it, in one of the races? And
the last race, because because Tyler won that first race on the Sunday, that meant there was 4 points in it. Marky Smith's on it. Cheers, Smitty. Minute and 10 seconds Conrad won that first race by. There's your gap. What have I got to do to get a deal next year? Find a minute and 10 seconds. Because Tyler won that close race in the first, there was 4 points in it. So if Musto won the second race, it was no good to him if Tyler came second. Mm-hmm. He needed somebody else. And while Beanie crashed out from behind him, and Billy Askew was a long way back. So when Musto got into the lead, he's trying to back Tyler up into Askew, but Tyler see what was going on, and they stayed smart. But if you've got a kid with a racing brain,
good, yeah.
I don't know how much Matt Gardner put into that. I'm sure Matt had a little word in the ear, but.
Similar to the AMCA champs then, Bob. Was it from the week before? Or
listen, hold on. Let's not even get it, because that will be another hour. We'll have to do a separate show for what
I went on Sky Sports pay-per-view. I thought it was going to be on there. Wasn't greedy. I thought it was like...
Yeah.
For those of you watching this who don't know what happened at the final AMCA round, just go back on social media. Follow Ash Greedy, follow Josh Waterman. Just scroll down, keep scrolling down, and just
take it all in.
Yeah, it was a bit of WWE.
It was a bit of they put the amateur right back into amateur motorcycle.
We'll talk about that another time. But,
so what else did we have?
Well, obviously Alfie Jones.
Alfie Boy Jones,
champion.
I would never have picked, and I'm ashamed to say this because I've helped him a few, and I get on well with the kid, and I would never have picked him to be that quick this year. He's rode tremendously. He hasn't crashed as much as he does. His bike's been reliable. Obviously, Rod's not doing it, I would think.
Rod, I'm sure Rod will laugh at that. Bless him.
He'll call me a few words that you can't sound here, but he knows I don't mean it.
He's a previous coupe rider again, Alfie on the 65.
He's been tremendous this year. Some of his times in some of the races, he wouldn't been far away from the top of the gap.
Yeah.
In MX2. Yeah. So I don't know what he's doing next year. If he's going up, he'll be good. He was really good, really good.
And then
he did have, and I was speaking to Mark Morris, and he did have a DNF, and a DNF would probably have given Jude the championship. And Mark came up to me and he said, "We knew he was going to have a DNF here. We talked about it. Me and Jude had spoken about this. We knew he had a DNF in him." He said, so he hadn't had one yet. So we thought he'll have a DNF at Landrake. And he had a DNF at Landrake. There was similar to that at Fox Hills, there was a rut by the signalling area that was taking chains off.
That's right, yeah.
And Alf had a crash, but he was back in it. And then his chain came off. And he DNF'd, and then I saw Mark, and Mark said,
like you say, though, it'll be interesting to see what Alfie does. I don't know if he's got another year in that class or
again,
not.
You need a deal, you need help, you need.
Totally.
It's not cheap, is it?
No. And then in the 125s, Bailey Johnson got it done. We spoke about that. And
he got it done, but Joe Brooks was on fire, wasn't he? Joe Brooks was beating all the 4-strokes. He was. I mean, what we got to remember about this championship is Joe Brooks had a lot of time out with his wrist, wasn't it?
Yeah, he missed 2 rounds, Joe Brooks. Yeah,
and hopefully Joe's going to do well. I know they're talking about doing some EMXs at the end of the year, which is really good. No, Joe was awesome. Joe's been starting. Yeah, really.
But he has got. I'm a little biased.
Unit behind him.
In Lee Webber, he's got a very a guy who doesn't puts his hand in his pocket, but he puts on a great show, and he's mustered what he's done for a small team.
With his budget,
absolutely,
he's amazing. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Big fan of Lee Webber.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a fan of Joe as well. I think Joe's very energy efficient. I think he's got.
Jimmy Barker squeaked second in the championship by a point because Coleman was back, and obviously he'd missed a load because of his wrist.
Yeah.
And he wasn't race fit, Ollie, and he's stylish and did all right. But James had an absolute nightmare, but his head wasn't in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's organising that Jude thing. Jude was a big mate of his. And his head was elsewhere and he kept crashing. And you can't blame him. And I'm kind of glad that he managed to squeak second, which was the best he was going to do anyway. He wasn't going to win it.
I'll just do an honourable shout out here to the top 3 in all classes, and then we'll talk about it. So in the autos, it was Cohen Jagelski.
That kid's awesome. And Gardner.
Yeah, Tommy Wood came in second, Jet Gardner third. 65's Robbie Daly is the champion with Alfie Geddes Green and Joel Wood Stanley in third. Of course, 2 of those riders you'll take into the coupe there. So that's good. In the small wheel, Reece Jones got the job done. Eddie Cole McCulloch and Jamie Keith. Tyler Hooley, Ben Musto, Billy Askew, we talked about. Brilliant. In the 125s, Bailey Johnson, James Barker and Ollie Coleman. 250s, Elfie won it, like we said. Sam Atkinson, Tyler Westcott. And in the WX small wheel, there was Libby Chatburn, Lucy Barker taking the big wheels, and in the adult, Elaine McCarran. So well done, all of the champs. Yeah, so it sounds like it was just brilliant.
Those small wheel boys, Reece and Cole. I mean, if they miss out big wheel and go 125, they're then bang on track. In Reece's case, he's probably 2 years in front because he's really young, but he is massive. He's taking after Lanny. He's really big. Then that 125 is going to have a lot of kids in it that hopefully can drag each other. And if a few of them, you see, even if a few of them go and do the EMX and pick up a bit of that EMX buzz and then bring it back home and the kids are racing them, if a kid's done well in the EMX and he comes back to his national championship, the kids that haven't been able to go can go, right, he's been EMX, I'm going to have a go at him. And it lifts the whole level of the thing.
Of course it does. He's the level.
It doesn't take everybody to go, but it needs
some trendsetters.
We've got nobody at the minute, apart from Bob doing the 125, who is not in everybody's eyes a youth rider anymore.
No, he's not. Not in mine.
No, not mine either. He's not a youth rider, but he's luckily, he can still do this 125 championship this year and hopefully win it. So it's just.
Sorry, I know you're reading that now. I've put you off by putting that on the screen, haven't I?
I am. Yeah. I mean, put pick any 15 riders out of MX2 GP against Conrad there, and he's racing with them. He's not beating them. Conrad is the level that people need to. That Conrad represents MX2 GP level. So yeah, I mean, Stint hasn't been to GPs and seen it, and so yeah, he can comment from there all he likes. But yeah, so. I mean, I'm with Conrad at GPs week in, week out. So I know what speed he rides. He's not riding any quicker there than he rides at the GPs. It's just the other boys aren't with him.
Yeah.
This is. Go on.
Sorry, go on, Bob. No, carry on, Bob. So I put you off there.
No, you're right. It's just that, yeah, it's if you get people that are raising their own level within the championship, it raises the whole level of the championship because it gives the other kids a bit of impetus, a bit of, something for them to go and beat.
That's the talking of levels. That's the Revo British Championship wrapped up. Well done to all involved.
Absolutely.
I said short and sweet
well
here.
Let's not forget.
That's what I mean, Gareth. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Everybody involved, Gareth. Everybody. It hasn't obviously.
That's his first year of doing it, and. Was it better than the other years? Absolutely.
And that tied in with what has been, either way you look at it, a very bizarre and difficult 18 months for everybody. So it hasn't been easy. And if you're involved with organising motorcycle events, not everybody is, or you're in the industry, you'll know just how difficult that's been. So well done, everybody, just to get through this year, really, because it hasn't been straightforward. A lot of things going on, as we know. But talking about levels then and standards and shooting for the top, let's end on discussing. I want to try and get him on here tonight, but he's too busy with his other job of managing CI Sport and moving warehouse. But I'm going to try and get him on pretty soon. Mark Chamberlain's selection for the big one, the motocross of nations. I still want to call it motocross does nations. With his team selection of obviously Conrad, justifiable, Watson and Simpson. Is that the team you two would pick?
Yes, it's the third place is the one that people can have an opinion of. I think Watson and Conrad are the easy picks. And then who do you take?
Who are your options?
Your options are Sterry,
yeah,
Tommy,
Nathan,
Sean,
yeah,
maybe Nathan, I mean, Mantova's not really a sand track, is it?
No,
I think sand and then it's hard. Yeah. You're not going to get Anstey or Wilson, are you? So,
no. I think again it comes back to.
Go on, Dave.
I was just thinking
you pick somebody that's been in that atmosphere and is a GP regular. So I think you're probably then missing Tommy out.
Would Tommy would he do it again?
I don't know.
I
don't know whether he'd want to go. I mean, Eddie'd probably want to go and do a vlog out there, but but yeah. So you're down to Sean and Adam, and which of those two have performed the best so far? Then you'd have to give it Sean, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would, and I think Sean's experiences,
Yeah,
I mean, Adam would, would give you he'd put a good shift in. He'd put everything he got into it. But then no less would Sean.
Yeah. No, Sean's experience for me just probably tops it. Having said that, listen, Adam, when he did ride for the team, didn't let anybody down there. No, absolutely not.
Hell of a rider. He's just a little bit off. He won't mind me saying that.
No.
But yeah, that's about the team. And would you have picked any different, Dave?
No, I'm 100%. As soon as it came out in my head, I'd already picked that as my selection, and I think no. I mean, Ben, he'd gone off whether he's carrying injury, you'll know more than me on Ben at the moment, Bob. But he certainly had some great results this year, and he's certainly capable. Conrad.
I think a lot of boys had some issues with that Turkey track, shall we say?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Conrad's, we know Conrad's could win a Grand Prix. It hasn't happened yet.
That's the thing. A lot of people's thing with Conrad, and there's probably a little bit of me in that as well, that think, well, it's a big stage. Will he perform? But if you're going out at the biggest event, you've got to aim to have your best result. And if Conrad fires on that day, and you get that spark from Conrad, then he can win his race.
Absolutely.
We know we get this kind of thing going with Conrad. Sometimes people bang on about it on social media. Everybody's got an opinion. We know all that. Which side of bed he gets out of. I would have gone for the same team. Absolutely. I think it's the right team also for where it is in the year, what venue they're going to. And I am going to go out and say right now, I think Conrad will get out on the right side of bed, and I really do think he'll perform. I think, it's been an odd year.
He's got no championship pressure.
No, exactly.
Absolutely.
He's got a British Championship under his belt. He'll be happy about that. Contrary to what you might think, British Championships matters to these riders. He might be a GP rider. He'll be made up with another British Championship win. The team are relaxed and good about it. And to be honest, they go in there with a bloody good shot. For whatever reason.
Podium team, definitely a podium team.
And you don't matter what you say about what other teams are sending and all that, you can only beat what's in front of you. We all know that.
There's some strong teams.
Absolutely. Just because the Americans and Aussies aren't coming. Yeah,
not a bad team, is it?
That's all right, isn't it? You wouldn't mind that, would you?
Yeah. And as I said, just because some of the bigger global countries like Australia and America aren't coming, etc., whatever, that doesn't devalue it in that sense. Like you said, Bob, some amazingly strong teams out there, but ours is a bloody good one.
So the Americans aren't coming. Were they going to win? I mean, what's happened with their national championship? They've been beaten by Australians, Frenchmen, and Germans, haven't they?
That's it. Yeah. So South Africa are bringing a team this year. Dave Goosen, who rode over here for a couple of years. Goose is coming back. So he was. He lived down south, down near Portsmouth.
Is Nev on it? Is Nev on it?
Is Nev
on a CR500? Yeah, it could be MX3. Yeah.
He has to split his time between South Africa and Northern Ireland.
And obviously he's repping now as well. So I see quite a bit of Nev. He's out and about in a few of the dealerships. So.
I think he does more. I think Nev Bradshaw these days does more riding than some GP riders. I think he puts up a new ride video every day of the week.
We need a few more people with Nev's passion for this sport.
Absolutely.
He was there at the weekend. I've got to say, I'm going to save all the talking about the vet stuff till next week because we've got to run out of time. Well, we've got as much time as we like. But anyway, he was brilliant at the weekend and the vets, switching from one bike to the other. And I've got to say, all those old stars, not that old, but you had Brian McKenzie doing it for the first time, Billy, and I'll tell you what, they might be getting on a little bit and whatever, but I think they
can still ride.
Well, they meant it. They really could see the intent this weekend. They weren't just like, okay, we're out here, let's go for it, but just keep a little bit in reserve because obviously we're getting old, don't want to get injured. All that went out of the window this weekend. It really did. It was with Brownie there because they all wanted to try and beat Brownie, and Brownie wanted to beat them. But so it was really good. But like you say, people like Nev and all that, another shining example of what you need to do and the commitment to get to the top, which we've touched on this weekend. Yeah. So, but going back to the actual nations. It's a tough one to call. It always is because, anything can happen. We've seen that. Of course, the real issue, I suppose, this year is how it's kind of fitted and slid into the calendar, which is always going to be tough, won't it?
Well, we've got, after nations, we've got France, Spain, 3 in Arco, 2 in Mantova. So there's 7. There's 8 GPs. I think there's 7 GPs. I think there's 7 EMX 250s and 6 EMX 125s after nations. Mm-hmm. You've got the last GP is the 10th of November in Mantova with an EMX 250 and an EMX 125. I mean, the EMX 125 and 250 boys haven't started their season yet.
Yeah, it's true.
November. There's snowmobiles as well. Then Bob, is there?
Well, we had 3 in Arco at the end of last year, and that was skiing season. There were cars in other. There were cars with skis on the roof and stuff. Yeah. But Mantova, I don't think it's a snow place. It definitely likes a drop of rain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's gonna be dark. I wonder what price you could get on Jeremy Van Orbit winning the last GP of the season. I mean, that Beta's the only one with lights on, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, that to me, that's. I know they've got to fit in because we were down to do those last two in November at Matterley.
Yeah, that's right.
But we could. It wouldn't work for the pheasant shooting and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what it is. There's you've got Mantova, then you've got Teufenthal, down south where you have the international. Can't remember the name of the place in France. La Capelle-Marival.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got a new track in Spain.
Portugal, then, isn't it?
No, Portugal's cancelled.
Oh, is it Portugal cancelled now?
Portugal's cancelled. You've then got 3 in Arco, Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, and then 2 in Mantova, Sunday, Wednesday, and that's all on the bounce.
Mm-hmm.
That's non-stop. There's a GP now in Sardinia this weekend, and then it's every weekend until the 10th of November, with a couple of Wednesdays thrown in.
Do you miss not going to them, Bob, or is it nice not to do the travelling?
I'm flying to them.
Oh, you are? Wow, he's gone up. Look, hey.
There you go.
I put the goggles on the Hitachi truck at Landrake, so the goggles have already gone.
Thinking on his feet there, Dave. Thinking on his feet.
It.
But yeah,
I like it.
The 125 and the MX 125 and 250 boys have got to be.
Yeah.
Got to be done. And if it's back to back to back to back to back, there's no way you can send it out and send it back and bring it out and bring it back.
How many pairs of goggles does a rider go through a year? Then I know I've got some idea of this because I used to. Obviously, I've sold a few goggles in my time.
Well,
but
I turned up at the British Championship the weekend with 400 goggles on board.
Yeah, and how many riders was that covering?
40.
There you go. 10 pairs of goggles each.
The big difference is laminates. The big difference now is because of the tear-off ban.
Yeah.
You used to go. A rider used to burn through £2,500–3,000 worth of laminates a year.
Mm-hmm.
Just throw it on the floor.
Crazy. Yeah.
I mean, you imagine getting $2,500 and just throwing it on the floor.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I remember many years ago I was going to bring in a biodegradable laminate, but it was from the States, but it never worked. You couldn't see through it. But
no, you can't. The biodegradable tear-offs, yeah, they work, but they're
it did biodegrade. It did biodegrade, but you couldn't see through the bugger.
Yeah, even then, it may have biodegraded. I don't know, 10% better than the current. It was never. It was.
It didn't go on the floor and melt.
Dissolved. No. Exactly that. Yeah.
About 60 years or something.
That's it. 60 instead of 100, probably.
You put 4 of them on, and you could see your own eyeballs. It was like wearing a mirror. That's the one.
Yeah.
I don't. If anybody out there can tell me what is the next way you can keep clear vision that's not, a pollutant.
Yeah.
Because
they're not going to tell you. They're going to get.
Roll-offs are much better now than they used to be. But they're not the answer. We saw that with Harry the weekend. You've seen it with Majora. Geyser's canister got smashed off with rocks.
Yeah.
Roll-offs on a dry, stony track are dangerous.
Yeah.
Because you get it smashed off, you can't see. You take your goggles off.
Yeah.
You lose your eyes.
There you go, kids. We need some young kids. Well, it might have to be kids. Somebody Dragon's Den potential. Get onto it. Get onto it.
How do you keep a goggle clean without a tear-off or a roll-off?
Answers on a postcard or answers on here later on.
Yeah. Whole shot is a good start, but
that would be like inventing a cable tie or Velcro, or that's your next million seller.
You got it.
And I haven't got a clue.
No, you'll just keep doing your thing in the meantime. Let's sign off then, Dave, with just going back to the Coupe. Just to remind everybody who not aware of what it is and when it is, and your team lineup again before we sign off. So
the date is the 20th. It's only 2 weeks away. It clashes with the Nations, first time ever. I don't know why, but it clashes. Anyway, it's a Passau in Belgium, about 2 hours across the tunnel from the tunnel.
Not far, is it? It's really
not far at all.
To get there.
It's the 49th running of it this year, and basically it's referred to as the Under-21 MX of Nations, and it's a 9-man team, 365 riders, 385 riders under the age of 14 at the end of the year, I might add, and a 125, an MX1 and an MX2, and and it, you know, Germany and France and Italy and Belgium and you know, so forth. The Netherlands have always been, sometimes they run, sometimes they don't. Van Mooijstik was there a couple of years ago, but there are some issues, I think, in the similar to here, different federations in Holland. I think there are definitely some political issues there. But yeah, it's a great event, and over 2 days, qualifying, practice, and qualifying on Saturday, qualifying for gate pick basically, and then 3 races for the open class, 3 races for the 85, 2 races for the 65 on the Sunday. And it's a team event, and it's 7 results from 9 count. So it's a real team event. Every rider has to play a part. So, you know, you can take one superstar, but you need 2 other superstars to back him up. So, so 65s, we've got young Robbie Daly, we've talked about already. It looks like he's going EMX 85 next year, which is great. We've got Alfie Geddes Green and Ollie Walters. So we've got 3 very strong riders in the 65s. Obviously, we're going to see how we compare with the best in Europe. And it'll be the first time for those guys as well. So the 85s, we talked earlier, you know, we had some issues with the understanding the rules, or the change of the rules. So now Charlie Richmond is 100% going, even though he had an ankle injury at Landrake. So, and I've got 2 other riders that I'm working on at the moment. I hope I can announce them tomorrow.
Earlier on, I saw a quote from somebody. I think it must have been Ryan's dad saying, "Check your text messages."
Oh, okay, I've been too busy.
So I think you've been messaged. I think you've been messaged while you've been on the show here.
Hey, so, maybe I have actually. Look, let's have a look. Yeah, so we got Ryan Waggett and Will Haddock.
Yeah.
Carl Haddock has said to me, just spoke with Will Waggett. You know, this is a tough one. This is like being a cricket commentator. So yeah, we have got Will Haddock and Ryan. Oh, you know what? It's terrible. Ryan Waggett. This is going to be a real tongue twister in the 85. So we're going to go with 3 great riders there still. Okay. Then in the open class, we've got Tom Grimshaw. I think at MX1, probably going to ride a 350. We got Sam Nunn on a YZF 250 in MX2, and then we've got, to back it all up, we've got James Barker. So more messages coming through now. I'm just making sure we've got James Barker, and again, James, fantastic job at the weekend with the Jude Morris raffle. So we've got 3, you know, great riders in every group, and I think, you know what, again, like the nations, we've got a chance. You know, we can absolutely, you know, British Bulldog spirit, and we're going to be going there, and we're going to, you know, we want to try and bring back the win. So
good luck. Well,
what I would say, everybody watching, and if you're not watching live and you get to watch this back, obviously, listen, I know we're all going to be, a lot of eyes will be on Mantova, but don't take your eyes off what's happening there in Belgium and get behind our British riders. That's because this is the start of, you know, potentially a lot of those riders that have come through the Coupe have ended up being on, you know, the Motocross Nations team. It's a great event, brilliant experience for them. Not only the actual event, but just all round experience, racecraft, pressure, all that kind of thing. Getting used to it, and we should be taking it. I know you take it really seriously, Dave. I know I did when I was team manager as well. It meant a lot to me. You know, the whole pride thing of being, you know, for your country and all that kind of stuff. And it's something we should be getting behind more often in the UK and getting more people, just bring more awareness about it, because it's a big deal for the kids. And I think we should really start maybe trying to get a little bit more support. I know you worked your ass off in getting shirts printed and sponsors.
Yeah, well, another big shout out there. Simon Gabriel, again, has come on board and helping out with shirts and backgrounds. That guy, again, you know, hey, I'm a Portsmouth football fan, as you know, but I'm a Hampshire hog as well. And in Gabriel's installations and in Cab Screens, we have 2 teams, and both these guys put their hand in their pocket. And Simon Gabriel, again, he's come up trumps, and he's providing shirts and backgrounds. Fantastic. We couldn't do it without the help, you know. We get some help from the ACU. We get a bit of start money from the Belgian organisers. So, but yeah, you know, massive thank you to Simon again. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, look, we're certainly through Dirt Hub. We'll keep any news, or I might even try and get hold of some of these kids and do some little Q&As with them and whatever leading up to it. Because effectively, other than a few races left and Western Beach Race, etc., which is another subject altogether, we're just like that. It seems we're what is after started off with a very slow year and frustration, then boom, and now we're seemingly getting towards the end of it. So I hope it all goes well out there. I've actually, I might even still consider coming out there, but obviously with travel restrictions and whatnot that. But it is a brilliant event, and I really hope the boys do well for them and for Queen and Country.
Absolutely,
bring it home. That'd be something to shout about.
Yeah, good luck, Dave.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
And all you boys riding.
Yes, absolutely.
Take it all in.
Exactly that.
That's right.
So yeah, thanks for coming on, fellas. I enjoyed that immensely, and I particularly enjoyed airing our opinions about what we need to do to try and just bring this definite. We have got talent in the UK, and I know we keep banging the drum, but hopefully, we can start. Some of these riders can start looking at the bigger picture, and who knows, we might be not only winning the Coupe in years to come on a regular basis, but also the Motocross of Nations as well. That'd be nice, and even throw a couple of World Championships in for good measure. That'd be nice. Right, thanks for giving up your time on a Monday night. I appreciate that. I'll speak to you both soon. Good luck with it all, and thanks for all you do. Basically, that's a fan of the sport.
That's it.
Nice one. Cheers, guys. I'll speak to you soon.
Take care. Cheers, Bob.
See you later. Okay, that's Dave out of there. Bob's gonna go and prep some goggles because he never stops. He's got a load of goggles to clean and do, so he's out of there as well. See you later, Bob.
Lewis done them all today.
Oh, good on you. Good on you.
Yeah, Lewis did them today.
I can let you go away now, and you can watch Line of Duty now, can't you, or whatever? Something on whatever it is. I don't know. There's probably something on BBC One worth watching. Probably not.
Stop babbling.
And go on. Off you get. See you later. Put him out of his misery. That's it, folks. Good to be back with a Dirty Talk show. We're going to try and get some more done now. I've been a bit lax with it. Apologies to, obviously, for not doing so many. Big shout out to Bell, to FXR, Doc Wob, everybody that supports what we're doing with the Dirty Talk show. We're trying to get a load more done now throughout the winter. Was going to talk about the Vets Motocross Nation tonight, but just simply that was too good a topic to just stop and cut short. So maybe do a Vets MX Nation special next week and talk about that. We've got Western coming up. We've got Weymouth Beach Race coming up. So there's a few things, and of course a load of GPs and the Motocross the Nation. So hopefully I'll get Mark Chamberlain on here soon, and we can have a debate potentially about that. That's it, folks. I'm also going to go now. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the kind words and being part of what we do. So until next time, take care, stay safe, and tip of the hat to Jude Morris and to Mark and all the Morris family. We're thinking of you. We're thinking of Jude. And like we said, if everybody can just be a little bit kinder to each other, a little bit more respectful, just how we remember Jude, that would be the most honourable and best thing you could do in memory of the lad. So just start being nice to each other, people, and enjoying what we do. Remember, it's you got to make it count. So I'm out of here. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.